Hello and welcome to the Spotlight podcast. Today I am joined by Danni Washington. Danni, thank you so much for joining me on the Spotlight podcast. Danni is the first African American woman to host a nationally syndicated TV program over in the US. She has the nickname Mocha Mermaid due to her background in marine biology. She is an absolute star in environmentalism. She's an ocean activist, and she's known for blending arts and culture with science in order to teach, especially young people, about the importance of protecting our oceans. So, Danni, please introduce yourself to our watchers or listeners.
It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I'm just excited to talk a little bit more about my passion and the passion that's shared by many people in my community around the ocean and what we have, to protect and how we can look forward to a brighter and better future globally. So I'm just really happy to be here.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. So let's unpack your nickname, the Mocha Mermaid, a little bit because, it embraces your identity in a field that has actually historically been quite exclusionary to especially Black people. Can you tell me a little bit more about where that exclusion comes from?
Sure. So, I mean, it's a long history, but for me personally, and my nickname, Mocha Mermaid, it kind of sprouted from me just being obsessed with the idea of mermaids as a child. I'm an 80s baby, 90s kid, so I definitely remember one of the first films that I enjoyed the most was the animated feature of Little Mermaid by Disney. And for me, that was an eye-opener because it opened up a world, even though it was animated, a world that I wanted to understand more, the ocean, a place that was full of mystery and wild animals and cool caverns and things that I just felt super pulled into wanting to know more. And so that translated later in life into pursuing a degree in marine biology. And from there, the rest is history. I've been working in the space of marine science, but not as a scientist, but as a communicator. So I've been able to host different science shows, television shows, all really focused on environmentalism and marine science, which has been such a wild and fun journey and something that I couldn't have anticipated as a child because I thought for sure, once I understood what marine biology was all about, I thought I was going to be a research scientist. But life had other plans for me based on some of the other skill sets that I accrued over time and opportunities that came my way. I had the chance to be a face and a voice that could speak up for nature. And I'm just so grateful to be a part of that cohort of human beings who are willing to do a little bit more and to try our best to inspire others to do the same.
Amazing. Thank you. So I also saw that you're going to be hosting a type of art festival called Art by the Sea. It kind of blends environmental science with creativity with art. You're known for this, right? You practice what's now called STEAM. I had to look it up. It's because I know STEM, but like STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So, what does art allow you to communicate about the ocean that traditional science communication, as we're used to doing it, can't?
Oh, well, I really like this question because this is the theme that I feel has really defined my journey and career. Using art as a universal language and a vehicle to communicate with others who may not come from the same background as you, same walk of life, you can utilize art as a messenger. And dovetailing on the question that you asked me before regarding why my nickname is Mocha Mermaid, it's because in the art world and in the forms of imagination, animation, I had never seen someone representing a brown or melanated mermaid when I was growing up, and I wanted to see that change. And so using art as a mode to just convey a quick message is so powerful. And I've learned from creatives in my community and people that I admire that if you can say something boldly and clearly through art, you will go very far with conveying that message. And so using art as a vehicle to convey messages around the ocean, I think is particularly important because the ocean is so misunderstood and there's so much that we don't understand about the ocean yet as a human race. And in order to gain understanding, we do have to put in the work, we have to invest the time, we have to invest in science, but simultaneously, we need people also to fall in love with the ocean. And I think art does a brilliant job of inspiring that love. And no matter what age, no matter what background you're from, art can really do that. And so that's why my nonprofit Big Blue and You that I co-founded with my mom when I was 21, we wanted to create a space, a safe space for people in our community who traditionally were not drawn to the ocean, maybe didn't even feel like they belong near the ocean, even though they live in a community that's really close in proximity to the sea. We wanted to create a space for people to feel safe and to have fun and to not even realize that they're learning something new, but to enjoy the arts, enjoy science all at the same time.
Okay, great. So, as I understand it, Big Blue and You really centers around experiential learning because you also emphasize a lot in the way you communicate that uh, the experience is really important for building that love of the ocean, for building that activism and commitment to protecting the ocean. Why is that experience so critical?
Experiential learning is critical because you have to see it, touch it, feel it. We're sensory types of beings, right? We need to see things, we need to understand things on our own time, on our own terms. And so I think through giving people hands-on experiences, especially children, it makes an indelible impact on them that they'll take with them throughout their lives. It's a one-day festival. Yes, it's a one-day type of experience, but it's a day that could flip a switch where something that they hadn't thought about before comes to light, an idea, a trajectory of their life, of what they want to pursue in their careers. All kinds of things can happen. And we've seen it happen in the past through our work in the South Florida community. And it's just such a privilege to be a part of, again, a community of people who really want to spark change, especially in the next generation, so that their imaginations and their joy and their curiosity will continue to be fueled, no matter how intense and how hard our current world and the things that we're going through right now as a global society are. There's still room for hope. There's still room for, again, joy. And it's up to us to facilitate that. And so we love what we do because we give kids experiences that they'll never forget.
Great. I can imagine that's really lovely. What I wanted to ask was you were very determined from a very young age to study the ocean, and you co-founded Big Blue and You at age 21, and then you became, like I said in the intro, the first African American woman to host the nationally syndicated TV program about science. So it can't have been easy to be the pioneer in all these areas, to be the first. What would you say to young women, especially of color now, who do want to be the first and do want to pioneer, but are kind of scared to be, the only one and not see themselves be represented?
I think it's important first to acknowledge that, I mean, I personally and many others, we stand on the shoulders of giants who came before us, who worked really hard so that I, for one, could have an opportunity to even be in this space. And when I look at people like LeVar Burton, who hosted Reading Rainbow, which was a show that I enjoyed as a child throughout my childhood, and I look to him as an example, as an African American man going on adventures, traveling around the world, reading stories, telling stories. I absolutely love the legacy that he's left behind. And he's still here with us, obviously, but he's just an incredible inspiration. And my hope in following this career path is to simply do exactly that, is to inspire the next generation of leaders, of voices that want to speak up for the natural world. And what I would tell a young woman who's interested in pursuing a career like this, who wants to be a pioneer in their space, is to just listen to your inner voice, listen to that intuition that's leading you certain places that sounds, like it's going against everything perhaps people around you are telling you, but go for it. Because when I was working and learning and studying in academia, I felt quite stifled. I felt like it wasn't a space for me. I didn't feel like I belonged there. And it was frustrating because I had a clear vision and want and desire to want to be in that space, but something just wasn't a good fit. And the reason why it wasn't a good fit is because it needed to steer me into this lane, into a space where I could be a bridge between science and the science community and the general public. And that doesn't mean diluting the science and making it less than what it is. No, scientists are working hard every day to bring about new innovation and new ideas and new information to the general public. But there is something that gets lost in translation a lot of times when you look at a scientific paper and then you give it to, I don't know, a high school student who doesn't have experience yet in understanding these things. How can you make it easier, more palatable? And that's what I do. That's what I love to do because I want to bring science to the people because science is the space that will take us into the future that we want. We need more science involved in every decision that we make, not just the environment. And so I'm a huge advocate for that. And I think that if we have more, especially more women and girls in STEAM, science, tech, engineering, art, and math, bringing all those elements together, those disciplines, I think we're going to see some massive leaps in innovation around the world.
Yeah, that's a really hopeful message. Thank you for that. Speaking of, since you know the current political realities, especially in the US right now with all the instability going on, how are you still able to hold on to the hope? Because I feel like a lot of days, lots of things feel hopeless, and people are only focused on survival and on the short term. So, how do you bring that message across that no, we have to hold on to hope, we have to hold on to the future?
I hold on to my personal hope through working local and building community where I am. I think that a lot of times, especially in this digital age, we're overwhelmed by the amount of information that we're being pummeled by every day. And a lot of it is bad news. And so it makes sense that people would feel hopeless, that people would give in to apathy. And for me, there have been many days where I've felt hopeless, that I've felt like I can't go on. But as long as you live to see another day, you wake up and that sun shines and you are alive and able, I think we have to do whatever we can to bring about the change that we want to see in the world. As long as you're here, keep going and build where you are. Start local, but think global. And that will allow and give energy to an individual to continue putting in the work. And then the second thing I'll say about that is it's about tapping into your gifts and your talents, because I think each of us offers something so unique and so special to the world, but it's about tapping into it and expressing it and allowing yourself to express it. I love when I see a community come together and you just see people working in synergy. And I think if we can facilitate more of that on a local level, we'll be able to continue to stir hope and to build systems that make sense for all of us, not just one group of people.
And how concretely are you translating those local initiatives and those communities to the broader level? Because, as I understand it, like if you can't change something at the, for example, legislative level, at government level, it's really hard to make a really big impact, especially globally.
Yeah, well, I think it's not necessarily about making a global impact anymore at this point. You know, we are globally connected through our devices and technology, but I think it's more about serving and facilitating better lives for those who are around you at the moment. So again, for me, through Big Blue and You, our work on the local level in South Florida, Miami, and Fort Lauderdale area, we're serving our community by working on a local level in South Florida. We're seeing lots of different individuals who haven't had access or opportunity to understand the environment that they're living in. They're living in such close proximity to the ocean and to natural systems like the Everglades. Building that connection will allow them to see themselves in a bigger picture, that it's not just whatever they're going through as an individual, but as a community, we're all impacted by this. And that's what gives me the fuel to keep going, because it's overwhelming. The age that we're living in, it is so much to handle and deal with every single day. But again, nature has always been my release point. It's where I'm able to take a breath and to re-energize. And I want to create that space for so many others. And that's why we do the work we do.
Yeah, and I guess if the movement grows so strong that they can't ignore us, you will have affected the change in the end anyway, right?
Absolutely. Because the power is always with the people and always will be with the people.
Yeah, well, speaking of the future, how do you see the future, not just for yourself, but of course for ocean activism, for the beautiful work that you're doing?
Well, the future for me as a new mom, I have an infant son, and it's just been such an eye-opening experience to bring new life into the world, and wanting, of course, to make the world better for him is of utmost priority for me. But beyond that, I think we're going to have to move through the birth of this new era that we're entering. Right now, I think we're in labor pains. We're like literally pushing our way through to get to the other side, and it's painful, it's traumatic, it's hard. That's what it feels like right now. But I don't think that's going to last forever. I think we have to be brave enough and bold enough to imagine a future that makes sense for everyone. And it's going to take work. And that's what a lot of people are doing right now. Those of us who are willing to sacrifice perhaps comforts that certain people have, or just being in a space where things feel so unstable. But those who can continue to keep a stable vision of what the future could be, those are the folks that are going to usher us into what we need and where we need to go. So I just want to continue to hold on to that. And again, my son is a huge inspiration, but I'm definitely inspired as well by those who are standing up for injustice around the world, whether it's related to the environment, to people's rights, animal rights. I look to those who have continued. It's a long game. Things are not going to change overnight. It's going to take maybe another generation for us to get there, but I think we will.
That's so hopeful. Thank you so much for that. Then another more practical question, let's say, because I do live near the ocean now. I haven't my whole life, so I still have to get used to it now. 2 years ago, I moved to somewhere where I can go to the beach in about 10 minutes. But as a regular, let's say, regular citizen of the world, how can I contribute to protecting our oceans?
Well, the ocean covers 3/4 of our planet, and it is the driving force that allows us to even exist here, thanks to the systems that are in place within nature. And we're disrupting those systems. Like we know that we're seeing the evidence of that. And we have to restore the ocean back to a place where it can continue to maintain and be the life source that we need it to be. Are we going to see a lot of destruction and change? We are right now. And I think it's going to continue because of certain behaviors that different societies have been a part of. But I think as an individual, if you want to help protect the ocean, if you want to help restore the ocean, it starts with your own coastline. So however far or near you are to an ocean coastline, you can do a lot. I think you have to start by looking at what you're consuming on a daily basis. And again, these systems that are bigger than us, bigger than an individual, can feel really daunting, but your impact and your role in that system can ultimately make a difference if we do it at scale. And so it takes individual action first. So looking at your consumption, are you buying things that you don't necessarily need to buy? Are you creating more waste that doesn't need to be created? But I think on the flip side, at the same time, it's about galvanizing your local policymakers, people who influence rules about your water system. So again, if you don't live near the coast directly by an ocean, your water is still impacting the ocean in some way because it's all connected. And so how do you speak up for those wild spaces near you and make sure that rules are being put in place to protect what you have left? And I think third would be cultivating your connection and figuring out how you can build a stronger connection with nature that's in your backyard, in your neighborhood. What are these green and blue spaces that offer peace and where are those green and blue spaces near your home, where you live in your community that deserve to be protected and to just be restored to hopefully a better balance than they were before? We're a big proponent of encouraging young people to speak up, no matter how old they are, how young they are, when it comes to this type of thing. And each year we take students to our nation's capital to speak with legislators and policymakers on the Hill to talk to them about ocean and water policies. And just that simple step, sure, these students don't necessarily get a new law, put into place right away, but they go there and they have the ear of these policymakers and their staff, and it opens up the dialogue. And that's what we need more of. People can't continue to separate the politicians, quote unquote, from the people. We have to have more conversations because they're working for the people. If you live in a democracy, those who are making the decisions and making those policies are supposed to be working for the best interest of their citizens and their constituents. So why not have the conversation? And you can even start at your local mayoral office, your city council, your school board, any type of governing body that's in your community. Get started there.
Great tips. Thank you so much. I think loads of people can really, take action accordingly. I had another thing that popped up in my mind. So I have two young children. My daughter is now almost 4. And when she was 2, yeah, when she was 2, we took her to a dolphinarium because there was one in the Netherlands. And I mean, her eyes started shining. She was so happy to be in contact with these animals that are so brilliant and so beautiful. But I'm always so conflicted when I go to either zoos or oceanaria like that because of, they're in captivity, but you can inspire the next generation through getting them in touch with these animals. So what's your view on that?
It's a great question that I get a lot. And I will say, as a child, I definitely experienced those places. I've been to lots of facilities that have captive marine mammals. And from a young age, I felt that same level of conflict, like feeling conflicted being there because I knew that they deserved to be out in the wild and that really wasn't a true home for them. But at the same time, I felt so privileged to be able to see these animals up close and to understand them a bit more and learn about them. And it's really hard. I think we're entering a time where, based on research, based on understanding, we know better now that that isn't the way. We should not continue into the future holding these animals captive. But there are programs that exist within some of these facilities that are helping to rescue and rehabilitate a lot of animals to get them back out into the wild. So in that regard, I hope that some of these places that have facilities that have captive wildlife in that way, I hope that they will change their direction and move more toward rehab and rehabilitation and recovery and offering that space for people to see these animals up close and to contribute to that restoration. How long it's going to take, I have no idea. But I think there's a growing collective consciousness about this that has been exploding in the last decade. And I'm really happy that that's happening because we have to move away from using animals as entertainment and understanding that we can interact with ambassador animals that are there to heal, to get better, and to go back to the wild. But at the same time, you can also say, well, hey, like their habitat, their home is being destroyed as we speak. Maybe they don't have somewhere to go after. And that is definitely true in certain situations. But for now, if we can do our best to help restore those that are already perhaps in facilities and then also restore where they need to go. So it has to happen at the same time. And that requires monetary investment, time, volunteering, energy, all of that. So I think if you feel that, seeing animals in captivity like that will never change, I don't think so. I think it will change. It's just going to be a gradual change.
Yeah, and I mean, it's always valid to question it, right? To say, like, why are you doing what you're doing? Do you have any rehabilitation programs in place? And if not, why not? And so on. Speaking of, I mean, we all have this feeling of urgency, right? About climate change, about the ocean, that it's all kind of getting destroyed and things like that, that it's a ticking time bomb, essentially. How urgent, is it for us to take action? Like, how soon do we have to act before it's, let's say, too late?
Well, urgent would be that we should have got it done yesterday. Like that's where things should have, that's the pace in which we need things to change. But listen, nature is built in a way that nature can recover itself if given the time and space. And right now, we're not giving it the time and space that it needs, and we're not putting the effort and energy and resources into helping it expedite that recovery. I think that we're going to just continue to see a lot of collapse in different, biomes around the world. And it's a really, really hard thing to accept. And I've struggled with this a lot. How do I find a way to, again, continue to have hope while seeing all this destruction? We have to find ways to protect more green spaces, more blue spaces. And so there have been people around the world, for example, working on the High Seas Treaty, which thankfully was ratified not too long ago. And we're still, it's going to be a while till things are actually enforced. But like when you look at areas of the ocean that are beyond the exclusive economic zone of countries, right? The 200 nautical mile mark, the high seas, the open seas, it's it's there and people are exploiting it all the time. But now with this treaty, we're making another step toward protecting those spaces and to make sure that the tragedy of the commons doesn't continue to happen in that regard. We will see things fall apart. We will see systems collapse, but that doesn't mean that they're gone forever. That doesn't mean that certain things can't be restored, but we have to act now. We have to move on it now. And I know it's hard for people who are just trying to survive on a daily basis, to put food on the table, pay the bills, do everything basic so that they can take care of themselves and their families. So thinking of things outside of yourself is so hard and difficult, but small steps, small support, if we can support those policymakers who are putting systems in place that will protect what's left, we start there. And then hopefully that will continue to expand.
Yeah, and the next generation, right? if we
Yeah,
teach them properly, then that also gives a lot of hope for the future.
I agree. It's a consciousness level and consciousness shift that's happening. And it feels like it's taking forever because we have to not necessarily wait till this next generation grows up, but to teach them right now that there is a better way. There is a more sustainable way. There is a more regenerative way to live on this planet than what we've done in the past.
Yeah, what a beautiful legacy to leave to your son as well.
I want to see him live in a world that support his growth, that will help him to be the best version of himself that he can be and to be healthy. And I think that's really the basic thing that a lot of mothers and parents out there want for their children. But we have to put the effort in to making that happen.
Definitely. Well, that's it. Let's end on this hopeful note. And thank you so much for your really elaborate answers and for giving really practical tips on how we can all do our part to protect our beautiful oceans. Yeah, is there anything that you still want to add?
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for having me on the podcast. And I'm really excited that we've got a new generation of young people who are ready and willing to step up and stand up for the ocean and each other. And that for me is something that we can continue to hang our coat on as far as like, how do we stay hopeful in times of extreme change? And there's a lot to be hopeful for, really. And if you're in South Florida, happen to be in Fort Lauderdale, Miami area, come see us March 22nd. We're hosting our Art by the Sea festival at the Miami Beach Bandshell. Hope to see anyone and everyone who's there in the area to come out and enjoy a day of art, science, and imagination. It's going to be a beautiful day. So you're all invited.
Great. Thank you. I'll drop the link in the video descriptions as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you.